Welcome to the Bible Character Podcast. Some stories begin with love, others begin with loss, but this one, it begins with famine, funerals, and a woman who, at her lowest, said, "Call me bitter." But don't scroll past, because this story isn't about staying bitter. It's about what happens when God rewrites the ending. She's honest, she's wise, and she's been through things most of us can't imagine. Yet she's here, in this studio, ready to tell it all. Naomi, welcome to the Bible Character Podcast.
Thank you, Delight. If I had known I'd be telling this story again, I would have worn something fancier than these widow's robes.
Naomi, let's rewind a little. Before Moab, before the pain, before you renamed yourself bitter, what was life like back in Bethlehem?
Bethlehem was home. The streets, the smells, the rhythm of it all, it was familiar. But famine? Famine makes you move. We weren't running from God. We were just running out of options.
And so, you left.
Yes. I packed up my life, my husband, my 2 boys, and we crossed into Moab. Foreign land, foreign gods, foreign language. But we were hungry, and hunger will humble you. I thought things might get better. Instead, I buried my husband, and then I buried both of my sons.
My God.
I left Bethlehem full. I came back empty. You don't even recognize yourself after loss like that. I told the people, "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, bitter."
Naomi, what do you even say to God after that?
I didn't say anything nice. I didn't fake hallelujahs. I was angry, and I let him know. But here's the thing, he didn't leave. He didn't strike me down. He let me speak, even the bitter parts. And somehow, he stayed.
That's a word for someone right now. When grief breaks you, God doesn't walk away. He listens, even when you can't say anything beautiful. You know, Naomi, Ruth could have turned around, gone back to her people, her family, but she didn't. Why do you think she stayed?
I still don't fully know. Even now, when I close my eyes and think of that moment, the dust on the road, the sound of Orpah walking away, I never expected Ruth to stay.
But she did.
She did. She looked me in the eye and said, "Where you go, I'll go. Where you stay, I'll stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." I didn't ask her to say that. I told her to go. I told her I had nothing to offer, not a home, not a future, not even a promise. I was an old woman wrapped in grief.
But she clung to you anyway.
Like grace in human form. You know, sometimes love doesn't make sense. It just shows up and stays. She stayed with me in the ruins, and somehow, that's when restoration began.
So maybe healing didn't come through fixing. It came through presence.
Exactly. Ruth didn't bring answers. She brought herself.
If you've ever felt like you had nothing left, no solution, no strength, no smile, remember this. Sometimes the people God uses to restore you don't come to fix the mess. They come to sit in it with you, to say, "I'm not leaving." And that presence, that's where hope begins again. Naomi, let's talk matchmaking. You knew exactly what you were doing, didn't you?
Oh, I had a plan. Listen, if Ruth was going to follow me into this dry old life, the least I could do was help her find a good man and a soft place to land.
You weren't trying to be subtle either.
Subtle? No. I told her, wash your face, put on your best perfume, fix your head wrap, and go down to the threshing floor.
And then what?
Then, wait. Wait till Boaz had eaten and was in good spirits. I said, uncover his feet and lie down. I wasn't being sneaky. I was being strategic.
That sounds like the ancient version of just happened to be where he is.
Exactly. I wasn't trying to trap him. I just saw the kindness in Boaz, and I knew Ruth deserved to be seen by someone who'd value her.
And Boaz didn't just see her. He covered her. He honored her.
He did, and in that moment, It was like the pieces of both our broken stories began to come together.
What was it like watching it all unfold?
Bittersweet. I was still healing. But watching Ruth walk into joy gave me a glimpse of restoration. Sometimes God blesses the people close to you to remind you He hasn't forgotten you.
You hear that? Sometimes God lets your wisdom, even your wild ideas, become the bridge to His perfect will. What you call strategy, He calls setup. Because when you move with love and boldness, God often moves through it. Naomi, let's go back to that moment. When you returned to Bethlehem, you told the women, "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara." Why?
Because Naomi means pleasant. But nothing about my life felt pleasant anymore. I buried everything I loved, my husband, my boys, my future. When I walked back into that town, the women stared, they whispered, they barely recognized me. Not because my face had changed, but because sorrow changes how you carry yourself. Grief makes you walk with your shoulders lower, your eyes duller, your steps heavier.
Did you think it was over?
Completely. I thought my story had closed. I was old, empty, just surviving. That's why I changed my name, not out of drama, but honesty. I wanted people to know, this joy you used to know me for, she's gone.
But she wasn't gone, Naomi. She was just buried, waiting for a seed of hope.
And that seed was Ruth. I didn't know it then, but God had tied my next chapter to a Moabite girl who refused to leave me. While I was busy declaring my ending, He was already writing a beginning.
So when the child came, when Ruth gave birth to Obed, what did you feel?
I felt full, not with the same things I lost, but with something just as precious. God gave me a grandson, a family again, a name in the lineage of kings. The women came back around me, and this time their words didn't sting. They said, "Naomi has a son," and for the first time in a long time, I smiled and meant it.
What does that moment teach us?
It teaches us that bitterness doesn't get the last word, not when God is still speaking, not when grace is still moving. You can rename yourself out of pain, but God still knows your original name, and He's committed to restoring everything your tears watered.
Hear that? Some of you watching, you've renamed yourself bitter too. Disappointed, unloved, forgotten. But Naomi's story reminds us, your identity is not your sorrow, and your emptiness isn't permanent. When God writes the final word, it won't be bitter, it will be blessing.
If He can restore me, He can restore you too.
If He can restore Naomi, He can restore you. Maybe you're like her right now. You've walked through famine, buried things you thought you'd never lose. Maybe you've changed your name in your heart, from hopeful to hurting, from Naomi to Mara. But today, her story reminds us, bitterness is not your ending. God is not done. Even in the ashes, He plants seeds. Let me ask you something. Which part of Naomi's journey spoke to you the most? Was it the honesty, the grief, the restoration? Tell us in the comments. And if you're still in the middle of your story, if you're still waiting on the restoration part, then let this episode be your reminder. God writes beautiful endings, even for stories that started in famine. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear that bitter beginnings can still end in blessing. And keep holding on to your name, the one God calls you.